I'm Joshua Hayward, and thanks for joining me for life readings this week in the stars and cards. And let me extend an invitation to you to join me each week as I explore all the possibilities and the challenges and the opportunities for inward growth and outward effectiveness. And this is brought to you by Breath of Life School in Yellow Springs, Ohio, and many blessings. Enjoy. Got change? And I don't mean those loose coins in your pocket or in your purse. Talking about actual life change. And this is the week beginning on Sunday, the August 14th. Now, so later on this week, on Friday the 20th, Uranus stations and goes retrograde. Okay, so we have a really powerful planet that is all about the change. It's a destabilization type of force that happens, so that change, it breaks things up and opens it up and destabilizes things so the status quo can actually shift into something else. So keeping that in mind, it's in the sign of Taurus then, okay? So, as I've talked about in previous editions of This Week in the Stars and Cards, Uranus being in Taurus talks about change around ownership and what's important and values and things like that. Certainly finance and money and stuff like that too. I think the bottom line though really has to do with values and what's important. This is a materialistic culture that we live in. That's not an arguable statement, that's just a statement of fact. Where we fall within that in our individual lives is important this week because we may be making some choices. I think it needs to be based on what we really value and maybe based on who we really are. That seems to be important too. So, coming from your center, moving into your center right now as you're listening to me. Who are you? What's in there? Or who's in there? And what do you value? Definitely, this is the week when some choices may happen. I've said that before, I'm saying it again. Okay, the last time that Uranus stationed was on, it was a few days after January 6, 2021. Well, we all know what happened then. And that was something that I predicted, although it wasn't really a tough call. I knew that something was going to happen in that Uranus station, and it felt really violent to me. And I saw the January 6th date, and I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. And I feel like a lot of other people knew about that too, but I don't want to get into any value judgments around that. As you're listening to this, as you're watching me, you know which side of the coin you're on that. And I'm not saying that anyone should be on either side of the coin. It's just where you're at. This is about you. It doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm just giving you the information. Because this week, we're looking at, all of these days leading up from Sunday to Friday. Could be even some days after that. That really relevant change is possible, and also violent events are very possible here too. What I'm seeing when I look at least the United States, I'm seeing irreconcilable differences, in the blue and the red, if you will. We saw the violent clash that happened last time. I think there's a good possibility that something like that could happen. I can't really be too specific about it. But one thing that I know is that the whole business about the vaccine, especially, and the masks, as we move into the surge, this is a surge that we're in with this Delta variant thing. And that kind of energy is making everybody nervous and angry and upset. And certainly there's some anxiety that's building, and this could quite possibly turn into violence because both sides are incredibly irreconcilable and will not budge an inch. And that's just what's happening, okay? And so I'm not really going to try to influence anybody to take a side on all that. I'm just saying that this week it's a pretty good idea for you to know who you are. And the world outside here, it can be argued, and I've had spiritual teachers that have said, there's nothing wrong with the world at all. It's perfect as it is. And there's something wrong with you. Dear viewers, there's something wrong with all of us. We don't live in the heart and the mind of God. So we're kind of crazy. We don't know how to make good choices. We don't know love when we see it. I think we might know it when we feel it, but we don't allow ourselves, with our perspectives, we block that out. We block out peace and love. We block out prosperity. We block out a feeling of collective abundance with our belief system. So who are you this week? Got change? Okay, it's not going to be change out there because there's probably not too much you can do to change what's happening out there. And in fact, it's not even really your job if you think about it. But you can change you. You can be the change that you want to see happen. What you can have some power over and have some control over is you. Okay, so what kind of change do you want? And if you can look at the change that you want through a very limited egoic perspective, that 3D perspective that sees things very literally and does not take into account multidimensionality. Okay. And if you're making change through that, whatever change that you make will be ultimately ineffective. You'll just have to do it again because you're not really seeing it. So, who are you as a soul and what does your soul value? This week, this is so important. Do you value something other than the crass materialism that we live in this culture? Do you want spirit in your life? Do you want love in your life? Do you want better connections in your life? This is up to you. But I'm going to draw 6 cards now. And these could be cards that might give you some information on how you can be that change. All right? So let's start with the first card. And open up your heart here, because how you perceive things with an open heart is the first thing we need if we're going to create change. Because the open heart wants to perceive what is there. It wants to shine that light of source energy and give all the possibilities. So open up your heart. Try to choose from your soul and be guided by some of your history and some of the things that you know about yourself. Of course, that's going to be there. So with that open heart and that open mind, let's go for the first card. And this is a very open-minded card. It would help you this week to embrace the energies of the Prince of Swords. Swords have to do with ideas. And the ideas that we have are getting ready for, well, they need to change. We need to change our perspective. You probably need to change your perspective of who you are, moving into deeper level. So be open to changing those ideas. And you can see he's on a chariot and he's striking the old ideas and changing, breaking that up and creating something new. And this is a totally Uranian card, okay? So for Uranus station, here's a really beautiful card, the Prince of Swords. He's on a chariot of ideas. So most of the ideas, the ideas that are not serving, that are more egoic, maybe for you, maybe wanting to change, maybe you want a deepened experience. But even if you're just moving from your life from this to that, still, this is a chariot that he's on. And this is something that you can really employ for yourself. You can be that person whose mind opens up to what the heart really sees and makes those choices, gets rid of the old, brings in the new. And here's another clue. The Three of Discs, the Three of Earth. And this is called Works, the Three of Pentacles. It's and notice that there's three wheels turning here. Three gives birth to something. It births out form and it puts things into motion, is what three does. And the wheels are turning here. And so it's getting things working. It's a workingness of your life. Do you want that? Are you going to choose that? What ideas are working, what aren't? Okay? There's two. Okay, so we can see. Now this card, interestingly enough, when I was setting up, this card popped out. And I was like, well, I don't really want to see that. Let's not talk about that. I think we've seen it in one of the previous weeks, but it's the Seven of Cups. And the cups are filled with this gooey, green, icky shit, you know? It's kind of awful. And it's that swamp that didn't get drained. It's that swamp that we're still swimming through. But really, this pertains to you, the viewer. So you want a workingness, you're going to have to acknowledge what is swampy and what's not working. Your intent is to get out of there. Sometimes we just get caught up in other people's ideas and we get caught up in the wave of things. We get caught up in our own ideas. We think our ideas have to be right. They came from us. Oh yeah, but most of the ideas that we have aren't original. They came from someone else. There's very little originality. Well, I'll let you mull over that. And because this is really more about you. So the fourth card. In the Princess of Earth, the Princess of Discs. And I think we saw her maybe last week or the week before, something like that. And because those things are still hanging out. And when we get repetitions of these cards, it's really important. See, she's saying that We've been through the woods. We are wanting the change that's going to bring us out of those woods into the clear light. See, on her spear, there's that light coming off that crystal on the spear. There is the yin-yang symbol here, the Tao, the spiritual knowledge that's gained from your life. So you could value, here's what I'm going to say to you, value what you really have learned. Look at yourself and let's really look to what feels the best and what you've learned about yourself and your life. And maybe you're ready to come out with that no matter what your age is. You know, we're spiraling in these cycles. So the cycle is turning now for us to bring out the best, okay? So do you want to bring out your best? This reading's saying that you can, so far. And if you're willing, here's sort of the father of the princess in a way, the knight of discs, the knight of earth. A very deliberate type of energy that moves with the vision. The vision is there. You can see the waves coming off the shield. I'll hold it up a little bit closer here for you. Okay. And with that vision, this knight of the earth knows what to do and will do it. Okay. So this is a really moving forward kind of thing. It still could happen within you, but if it happens within you, it certainly will happen without as well. So not to worry. All right, the next card that we're looking at, and so what will that movement? What is that going to move towards? Okay, so. Well, okay, so what I did was I saw this card and I thought, well, I want a little bit more additional information. And when we look at these cards, you know, my mind didn't want to see defeat at the end of the reading, but I figured out what it is now. It really is the defeat of the ego. If you want that to be, if you want to move into that deeper soul connection, stop trying to move forward with these self-defeating notions that aren't really true to who you are. Spirit knows this. And so Spirit's setting up the situation so you can make a conscious choice to let go and be, you know, and surrender to what's not working. And then what I got after that was, maybe I'm trying to write a Hollywood ending here. I don't think so. In fact, this whole piece has been kind of the opposite of that, hopefully. Anyway, the Empress is one of the more really positive, forward-looking cards. This is when love, the doorway to love, opens up. And so there's this being more loving to yourself. Maybe a less materialistic self. Maybe a self that's open to different avenues of life flowing through and supporting and abundance. This is a beautiful card. Venus rules this card. And the Hebrew letter here, Dalet, which you can probably just barely see, means a door. Okay, so in the Kabbalah. So we're looking at a real positive week here if we're not resisting change. If we're going to self-own and really move into our hearts and see what our truth really is and really tend to gravitate our energy towards that, hopefully more loving self. This is what can happen this week. And next week, what's coming up will be that second full moon, which will be opposite Jupiter, or will be conjunct Jupiter in Aquarius. Okay, so that's going to be a really cool thing too. So tune in next week. But for now, be that change. You got change. If you got change, you got you. You got you on a deeper level. This is Joshua Hayward, imploring you to seek the divine in all things.